Imagine a world where the roads are always clear, not a parked car in sight, and you're free to cruise down the road uninterrupted by parked cars at the side of the road. Keep on dreaming. In reality, the roads have two purposes. Purpose A is driving and purpose B is parking. The world's roads are the world's biggest car park. And if I'm honest, I'm glad the roads are used as a car park, because driving would be somewhat less useful if you couldn't pull up at the side of the road once you reached your destination. To help you deal with the inconvenience of parked cars, you firstly need to understand these two basic rules. The first rule is you must give way to the other side of the road. This means that if you need to borrow the other side of the road to pass a parked car, you must wait for any oncoming cars to pass before you proceed. Likewise, they should do the same for you if the car is on their side of the road. They should wait for you to pass. The second rule is that you must give way to a committed car. This means that if someone is already committed to passing a parked car, you should let them finish, regardless of what side of the road the car is parked on. Other drivers should also do the same thing for you. They certainly don't have any right to ram into you because you're stuck using their side of the road. Here is an example of me waiting for the committed car to finish passing the parked cars before I proceed. And in this example, I am already committed, so the helpful oncoming car lets me get to a gap in the parked cars so we can pass each other. Now, before I move on, I just want to clarify what being committed actually means. You are committed when you are too close to stop. Here you are committed because you are already in the gap. To give way would mean you would need to reverse, which is not practical. Therefore, you should finish passing the parked cars even if somebody comes. If someone flashes their lights to you in this situation, it usually means they're telling you to come through. But be careful, as flashing headlights can mean a multitude of things. In this example, you're also committed. You may not be alongside the parked cars yet, but you're too close to them to stop. If you were to try and stop, you would be too close to the parked cars and wouldn't be able to continue without reversing. However, on this occasion, you are not committed because you are far enough back to stop before the car without braking harshly, and you are also able to leave yourself enough room to proceed without having to reverse. Normally, you'll be committed when you're between 4 and 2 car lengths back from the parked car. In this example, you're definitely not committed because you are very far from the parked cars, and therefore you should have plenty of time to wait if someone is coming the other way. If you are this far back and cannot stop, you are driving far too fast for the current road situation. When you are approaching a parked car on a bend, you need to be particularly careful and commit as late as possible, regardless which side of the road the parked car is on. Therefore, you would need to slow down to around 10 miles an hour or less to allow you to get as close as possible before having to pass. That way, if someone is coming, your solution is easy. Simply stop and wait for them to finish. However, if you are unfortunate enough to meet someone when you are both committed, one of you will have to reverse. The car that reverses in these situations should be the car with the shortest distance or who has it easiest. If there are cars parked on both sides of the road, then it's first come, first serve. And if you both get there at the same time, then it's no one's priority. So try to make eye contact with the other driver and politely work out who should go first. After you. No, you can go. After you. No, you go first. After you, sir. Well, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity. Cheerio. When the parked cars are staggered, you should try to treat them the same as when the parked cars are not staggered. After all, it makes no difference because both you and the oncoming car still need to use the middle of the road to pass. Sometimes the stagger is big enough that you can pass in the middle, which is fine, but If you're in front of a long line of cars, this will be a bad idea as the queue will block the road, meaning many people would have to reverse in order to resolve the issue. Here is an example of a car waiting for me in between the staggered cars. Fortunately, the learner waiting to turn left waits for me to finish to avoid blocking the road. If you are passing parked cars next to a junction, be extra careful. People emerging left from the junction will often only be looking right and may not see you coming. However, it is your priority. The car emerging from the junction should give way to both sides regardless what side of the road you are on. A lot of drivers don't understand this rule and think they have priority because you are on the wrong side of the road. So be ready to stop if you think they will pull out in front of you. There are occasions when there will be enough space to go at the same time as oncoming traffic, such as this road here, which is wider. A good way to help you judge if you can fit with the oncoming cars is to try and imagine the oncoming car in the space that's available. In your mind, try to copy and paste the oncoming car to the space. If you can easily fit the oncoming car in the space, you should go. If, however, you're struggling to judge it, you should wait. Don't guess. If you don't know, don't go. Most cars are of a similar width and vary between 1.8 to 2 meters wide. So it shouldn't matter too much on the size of the car. Cars do vary greatly in length and height, but of course this doesn't matter in this situation as only the width is relevant. Be extra careful with other types of vehicles as buses, lorries and tractors vary in width greatly. You should also look to see if there is much space on the other side of the oncoming car. If there is plenty of room, you should expect the car to move over slightly and give you more room when they see you are coming. Also, try to be considerate and courteous when deciding if you should go or wait. For example, if it is really busy with constant traffic, it's a good idea to try and squeeze through a small gap, even if it means the oncoming cars will be inconvenienced and may have to slow down a little bit. But if the traffic is light, it's best not to squeeze and wait for them to pass. There is normally no need to use the indicator when passing parked cars as your approach position, which should be to the right of your lane, will be enough of a signal for everyone to know your intentions. Also, signalling right to pass the cars may be misleading as other drivers may expect you to turn into a road or a driveway on the right. Certainly, don't signal left as you go back to your side of the road as it will look like you're parking and drivers behind may attempt to overtake you. You may use a signal if you think the car behind wants to pass you, as the benefits of getting them to wait behind you outweigh the disadvantage of looking like you may turn right. Try to cancel the signal as soon as you move over so people know you want to continue. Another factor to consider when dealing with parked cars is your position and speed. You want to aim to give approximately a metre from the parked cars. This distance should keep you safe if someone was to open their door on you. If there isn't enough space to leave a metre from the parked cars, then you should reduce your speed. A good rule of thumb is, if you have a metre on both sides, you can do more than 20 miles an hour. If you have less than half a metre, then you should be less than 10 miles an hour. And if you're squeezing through an exceptionally tight space because it's busy, you should be at walking speed or less. Now you can see me slowing down to 10 miles an hour because of the narrow gap caused by the oncoming cars. When the cars are gone, I can speed up again. If you are on a particularly wide road, I would recommend keeping just over a metre from the parked cars. There is no need to give 2 or more metres as this just puts you unnecessarily close to oncoming traffic. When approaching hazards on right-hand bends, try to keep left for as long as possible as this improves your view. But when approaching hazards on straights or left bends, try to move over as early as possible. This improves both your view of oncoming cars and their view of you, and it also helps you see where your next gap is in between the parked cars. As I approach this van on a right-hand bend, I try to stay on my side of the road for as long as possible. This improves my view past the van and allows more room for possible oncoming cars. When I'm approaching this large vehicle on a straight road, I move out extra early to improve my view. As it happens, there is a red car coming, but as I've moved out early, I have plenty of time to get out of the way. Try to avoid driving up behind the car, as this is more dangerous. Oncoming cars won't see you and you won't see them. It's kind of like sneaking up behind the parked car and shouting, "Surprise!" as you swing out at the last moment. You can see how poor my view is if I move out late. I have no idea what's coming the other way, and the possible oncoming cars can't see me either. Also, now I've moved out, I have no option to move back in because I'm already alongside the vehicle. This is actually what most learner drivers naturally want to do. It's because they want to stay left of the centre line, although this is not always the safest place to be. Always try to position your car to get the best possible view without going too far right. I would say you are too far right when you are more right of the space than left. And remember, it is the total space available you are looking at, not the space between the parked car and the centre line. In fact, I would recommend not paying any attention to that line in the middle of the road at all when dealing with parked cars. It doesn't bear any relevance to your position. All that matters is how much space you have to get past the parked car. Try to have the correct banana when passing parked cars. This is the correct banana and this is the wrong banana. The trouble with the wrong banana is you will need to go further into the other side of the road as you pass the parked cars. If you have the correct banana, you will be straight as you pass the parked cars, and as the car takes up less width when you are straight, you will fit in tighter gaps. That leads me on to where you should be looking. Try not to look at the cars and the obstructions. They are problems, and staring at them won't help you see your space. The sooner you start looking at your available space, which is your solution, the sooner you will become confident and competent at dealing with parked cars. This advice doesn't only apply to parked cars, but any other obstructions you find in the road, from a skip to even a fallen down tree that's blocking half the road. You deal with all obstructions in the same way. That's all for this one. Please subscribe to get my future videos, like if you like it, and leave a comment for what videos you want to see in the future.